All right, I was actually gonna duck out on doing this stream, but I got my schoolwork done, and I'm just let me get myself together here so I can actually look like I somewhat know what the hell I'm doing. All right, we got that there, got that there, got that there. Yes, I now know that it's Tampa. I knew earlier today it was Tampa. I just, for whatever reason, I decided to think of the other team in Florida. I was doing schoolwork and getting the StreamYard stuff ready at the same time. So yeah, yeah, I don't know what compelled me to type in Florida. I got the state right. I mean, that's got to count for something. They're in the same state. I mean, yeah, my brain's fried. So, but I got that stupid ass assignment done, and I don't have to worry about anything with class for a day. So, but hope everyone's doing well and everything with that. Let me go to some of these comments here. Sean says versus Tampa Bay, and I roasted myself a couple of times here. Yeah, Florida's Wednesday. I just, for some odd reason, I got fixated on the state of Florida, and I got fixated on the wrong side of it. Sean says, no problem, man. I'm looking forward to hearing the lineup and the game call. Yeah, I know exactly the things I'm going to be looking for in particular here. Paniac says 24-hour stream coming soon, guys. That is fake news. It's never been more fake. I'm not doing that. Fake news. I'm not doing that. I know you guys are going to try to get me to, but I'm not doing it. It's not happening. No way. Now, if it's for a good enough charitable cause, I think I'll try, but I'm going to have to find more things to talk about than hockey. So I guess that means I'll do some iRacing stuff. I'm going to talk about fighter jets a lot to the point where you guys want to vomit. Baseball, dogs. That's about the extent of my interests, honestly. My main ones, anyway. I have a bunch of other little interests, but my main ones are those things. Paniac, as you might have saw in the chat, I tried to, say the I will fucking destroy you thing, but YouTube said it was spam in my own chat of my own stream. Wow. Okay. Burgers tonight. Burgers tomorrow, actually. I get my weekly burgers tomorrow. Tonight we had tacos. Tonight was a taco night. Desiree found like this recipe for like Doritos Locos Tacos at home, which is way better tasting and way healthier than the ones from Taco Bell, but she replicated that recipe in a way that like is really, really good. She's an amazing cook. She's an amazing woman overall, but she's a really good cook. But yeah, 24-hour stream. I don't know what, I like to talk as much as anybody else, but I don't know what the hell I would talk about for 24 hours. I guess we could do watch parties of like a lot of my favorite movies and TV shows. We could watch both Top Guns, Battlestar Galactica. We can watch that. That'll help take up 24 hours. What else is there? I can roast Iron Eagle. I hate that movie. And Stealth. I hate that movie. We can watch The Mighty Ducks, and I can tell you all the things I don't like about those movies. I didn't even like them when I was a kid. You can hate me for that if you want to. 24-hour stream on Jacob Slavin. If I was going to talk about a player for 24 hours, that's the best chance. That's literally the best chance. That's one player I can talk about for an extended period of time and still manage to break down little parts of his game. But man, this 24-hour stream thing, y'all are going to push this now. Damn you, Paniac. Damn you. I am very happy you are all here, though. This is going to be fun. So the biggest things that I'm looking forward to looking at here. So it says the game starting in 7 minutes. The biggest things that I'm looking at here, Nikishin, obviously. I want to see how he does. I'm kind of upset that he's not paired with Legault, but it kind of makes sense. You don't want two guys that, you have one with limited NHL action with Nikishin and one that hasn't really seen any at all with Legault. So, maybe putting them together even in a preseason environment is probably not the best idea. So I understand why they didn't do that. Stankoven. I'm going to be looking at Stankoven a lot because if he can really refine his skill set and basically turn into another Marco Rossi-esque type center, who, even though I think he's a little bit better of a player overall than Rossi, and that's not even bias. I thought that before Stankoven came to Carolina. So me and AB and Jeremy, we were all at Logan Stankoven's first game when he got called up to play for Dallas and Raleigh when they won. I think it was 2-1 the final score in that. And Stankoven was the most noticeable player on the ice. And, you know, we were talking about all that and we were like, damn, this kid is good. It's like, didn't imagine at that time that he would end up being a Hurricane, especially under the circumstances in which it happened. But I also understand, like, you know, a lot of people, myself included, said, hey, maybe try Jarvis at center. One thing that Rod said on his interview with Adam Gold recently was if they're going to go that route, they're going to try Stankoven first, because basically Jarvis is more of a known quantity on the wing. So, like, you already know what you're getting with Jarvis, whereas with Stankoven, that's a little bit more open-ended. So if he works out there, that would be really, really awesome. That would solve a lot of issues for this team. I'm not really concerned about Stankoven's size. I know a lot of people are. That being said, we also have to see how this works in actual NHL game action. I'm not just talking about a situation like tonight, but, you know, over a sustained course of a few regular season games, you get a sample size, you start getting an idea. You go to a few more games and then, you know, see how he deals with it over 20 games, see how he deals with it over 30 games, everything like that. Aho was not working out at center at first either. If you remember the training camp of the 18-19 season, Rod explicitly stated he didn't like what he saw, and now Aho is one of the best two-way centers in the league. He's a top 15 player on a bad night, and Aho really defied the odds with that, and a lot of that is thanks to Rod. Actually, I would say nearly all of it is thanks to Rod, because you took a guy who was projected to be a 70, 80-point winger and turned him into a point-per-game two-way center that's, you know, kind of got the same skill set and along the same lines to the pending retirement of Anze Kopitar, who's one of my favorite non-Hurricanes, Sasha Barkov, one of my favorite non-Hurricanes. Let's see, you know, there's all kinds of stuff like that in there. And it's not many players go. Usually a player that's drafted as a center ends up playing wing if they don't end up playing center. Aho was the other way around. He went from wing to center with no real prior experience at center. He had some limited experience there and everything. Like, he played it a little bit in World Juniors and stuff like that. So it's definitely something to look at there. I'm looking forward to seeing how all this works out and everything. But Stankoven, if he works out at center, that's gonna be monumental for this team. And, you know, I know that I advocated for Natchez to be tried there, and I ended up being wrong about that. But more than anything, it was hoping that they would take a shot in the dark and hit what they need to hit by putting Natchez at center, so that way you didn't have to go out and explore the center market, which, as we've seen over the last few years, is not good, and it's only going to get worse. So having an internal hire work out as it did the first time with Aho is a testament to Rod's coaching. So that'll be great if that works out. But regardless of what path they take with it, let's be patient with it, see how he does, all that type of stuff. Tonight's a good first step, but if he plays well tonight, don't get overexcited. If he doesn't play that well there, don't think too much of it. This is going to be something that's not figured out in a couple of games. There's things like, you know, I knew the Hurricanes were going to trade Scott Morrow after game one of the Florida series. I really did. Because players have those watershed moments where you can kind of put a check in the box and say, yes, they're on the right path, or no, this is something that shouldn't continue to be explored. And if, let's say, Scott Morrow came up in the 18-19 timeframe, you have time to work on him. You're not entering that, you know, high competitive window that the Hurricanes are in right now. You can maybe take the time with that player to get him to refine the parts of his game he needs to refine. The Hurricanes are not in that position to wait on somebody like Scott Morrow to develop. They need guys who are ready to go now. So, and then honestly, I just wasn't too impressed with him in that game. I wasn't too impressed with him at all in the playoffs. And that's why, like, with the history of this team with more offensively minded defensemen and not wanting to commit to them for greater than 3 years at a time, I kind of figured that he was gone. So, God, those sweaters are ugly. I don't like those. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying. I don't like them. I'd come around on the previous white ones by now. With these, I'm not digging it. All right, let me get my notebook here ready. Oh, link to the stream. I'll tell you what, here. Link to the stream is now on link to the stream is now in the description on YouTube, and I'll put it on a comment on X as well. There we go. All right, cool. So now we can all watch it together and everything. So this works out really well. Reese also says excited to see how Stankoven and Nikishin. Not excited to see 3C Brindamore because it's clear to me he's not an NHL player with his poor skating. I think Skylar could do the 4C call up thing, and I think that's about it. But as far as him being a mainstay NHL player, I don't personally see that. I mean, people are going to hate me for that because he's Rod's son and everyone loves Rod, but that's just my personal assessment of it. That that. And that's not knocking on him and saying he's a bad hockey player. Like I said, if you get paid to play, you are good at the game. It's that simple. I know so many people who say, well, I could have 110 points if I skated alongside Nathan McKinnon. No, you can't. You wouldn't even make it into the SPHL or the Fed, bro. I see so many people say that. And a lot of them are either guys who don't play at all or play in the same leagues that I play in at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. And that's also part of the reason I haven't been streaming is because I've been sick all week and I was trying to get to where, well, not really sick. It's just allergies more than anything. And I've been trying to get to where I could breathe because I could barely talk the last few days. And I thought about sitting out of my game and I was like, no, I'll be fine. And first few minutes I was out there, I was like, that sounded like freaking Darth Vader every time I went back to the bench for about the first 2 or 3 shifts. And then after that, I felt fine. But I was just so ridiculously stuffed up. But yeah, August, the link to the stream's in the description now on the YouTube side. Let's go Canes. What's up, Matthew? Good evening. Good evening to you, buddy. Let's fucking go Canes. I agree. I haven't changed my opinion since I saw them in reference to the sweaters. They're okay, but they're not great. I don't see the point in them. I just don't. It was a waste of time, and it was kind of a, for lack of a better term, a bastardization of the Stadium Series sweater. And this is coming from someone who owns the previous sweaters, the Candy Canes and the Road Whites from 2019 and earlier, and I didn't like either one of those. Doge Bolt, what's up, dude? Bolt have very minimal vets in the lineup tonight. Yeah, Carolina had didn't have a whole lot of them. I got to go back and look at the lines because, like I said, I've been really busy with schoolwork all day, so it's that's why I got confused which team in Florida we were playing. I'm surprised I didn't write the Orlando Solar Bears or the Florida Everblades. I was so freaking fried. Let's see. Go to Walt Ruff. All right, so Hall, Stankoven, and Blake, Smith, Yost, LeBanc, Josiah Slavin, Skylar Brindamore, Bradley Nadeau, Felix Hunger Sorum, Justin Robidaw, Noel Gunler, McKishin, Shillington, who's Shillington's on a PTO, Bayreuther, Nystrom, Finsor, Legault. Yeah, so the Canes have just Hall. If you want to count LeBanc, you can throw him in there. Yost, maybe you can throw him in there as a vet. Even though he's predominantly played in the AHL, Josiah Slavin, we could probably put that one there. Shillington, we'll throw him in there. So yeah, the Canes have only 4 or 5 in there too. So all right, and we are going. Oh, they're using the Governor's Cup camera. All right, one thing that I want to keep an eye on here is, let's see. Looks like Nikishin's playing his offside, so let's keep an eye on that. I don't know if he started that way because I looked back over after puck drop. Good battle, boys. That Bank of America logo, speaking of stupid stuff the Canes are doing with the uniforms, or not Bank of America, First Citizens Bank, whatever. Not digging that either. It's like the logo took over the freaking helmet. Let's watch Robot on this forecheck here. Ooh. He took a hit there, but he got the puck back to Unger Sorum. See, I know Nikishin's edge work is not elite, but it's good enough to where he can make those really big cuts and crossovers and rode the blue line the way that he did, because he made himself a passing option in a situation where a lot of other players can't. All right, let's keep an eye on what Stankoven's going to do on this shift here. See, that's another thing. Stankoven, he just steps over so quickly, 2-3 quick steps, and he's gone. It's usually just 2 steps, and he's launched whichever direction he needs to go. Connor Geeky, I like him. I'm still like perplexed at that penalty they gave him in the World Juniors a couple of years ago, because even by double IHF standards, that hit was perfect. That hit was absolutely perfect, and he got a game misconduct for it. I'm still, till this day, I'm perplexed about that. I'm so perplexed about that. It's like the double IHF wants to give a monopoly on body contact to smaller players, and I think that's dumb. That's not the first time they've made a call that boneheaded, but I remember that one explicitly. Good save. Primo saw that one through traffic. Way to see that through traffic and get the glove on it. Good pressure. There you go. Oh, or not. Tampa got the entry anyway. And some pleasantries after the whistle. That's a quick release there by Connor Geeky. That was a really good release. He didn't even have to load that puck up that much to get that much velocity on it. Yeah, let me see if I can get to where you are, Matthew. Okay, yeah, I was a couple of seconds behind. I fixed that now. They're going through the neutral zone now. I don't know if we're synced up now. Skylar Brendamore on the forecheck. He'll back off and take his man through the neutral zone. Nadeau's in the middle. All right, let's see how Nikishin quarterbacks this breakout here. Good pass. And that's out of play. Quick, decisive puck movement there by Nikishin. Even though he wasn't under pressure, that changes real quick. It's the NHL. It's fast. Someone will be on you real quick, but he moved that puck pretty quick, so that's good. Good face-off win there by Robida. Way Nikishin collapsed down there on the face-off dot was very well timed. That's the type of stuff I want to see from Nikishin. That's exactly the type of stuff I want to see from him, where he aggressively pinches like that, gets involved in the play, and keeps it alive. There was a clip in the video I made about him back a couple of years ago, the one that has like 12,000 views on it or whatever it is. And he made a play identical to that where he used this frame, boxed him out, got possession of the puck again, and he took the shot. He scored on that particular play, but that's the type of stuff you want to see out of Nikishin. All right, I'll be real with you guys. At the moment, Stankoven looks a little bit lost, but don't panic. Sean, go to the Hurricanes website. It'll be on the homepage. All right, now Stankoven made a pretty good defensive play there in the zone. It's just he looks a little bit lost positioning wise, but he'll figure it out. He looked a little bit lost that shift, but you know this is going to be an adjustment for him. And that was a bad pass. He'll figure it out. Just he's going to need a little bit. Legault jumping in on the rush there. That's good. Keeps the play alive. There you go. Good outlet pass. That was good pressure by Nadeau to prevent a clean exit there. All right, let's watch this now. Nikishin gallops like a damn horse, man. He really does. He's got his man in front of the net. That's good. Good defensive awareness there by him. Like I said, I'm going to be watching him and Stankoven more than anybody. This is a game where I don't watch the game. I watch particular players and what they're up to. All right, Felix Ungersorm did a really good job getting to that puck. He anticipated that play and where it was going and made it down in the corner. He kind of was preemptively where he needed to be to keep that play alive, so that's good from him. The transition plays a little bit sloppy right now, but it's the first period, so of the first preseason game, so nothing to panic about, but they definitely got to clean that up a little bit. Great individual effort by Finsori there. Man, I hate that guy can't be a mainstay NHL player because his skating is incredible. God, his skating is amazing. He would be like Sean Walker if he was a little bit bigger. I'm going to grab a water. Give me 1 second, gentlemen. Hey, Frankie boy. Frankie boy. You're a good puppy. You having fun over there? I agree with Tripp about that. Finsori's a very dynamic player. Like, his skating is incredible. He's like Sean Walker good with his skating. Good job by Legault there to get that shot on net. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just but we'll get through this. Yeah, that was great. The way Legault used his reach there, and he extended his legs a little bit to buy himself a little bit more room and everything like that. Used his frame to, make sure he maintained possession of the puck. That's good puck protection, and then he was able to get a shot off immediately after that. So that's something good there too. Good patient play there by Hall. See, that's what I'm saying about Stankoven's skating, man. It's just snowplow one step, and he's 7 feet away from where he was a split second ago. Pretty good job by Stankoven there, even though he couldn't get the puck to where he wanted to go, to be able to fend off that physicality and even keep possession of it for a second longer. I need a Nikishin goal, man. That's what I want next. Trip Tracy is hilarious, man. I love that guy. I got to get him to follow me back. John Forsland already does. Now I got to get Trip. So speaking of John and Trip, I have a funny story to tell real quick. When I was in the Navy, I had some friends. I still talk to them occasionally. This guy's name was Chandler. He and his wife had a beagle named Trip, and it was just spelled with one P. And they were getting ready to move back to Mississippi because he was getting out of the Navy, and they asked me if I wanted him. And I didn't really have the circumstances to take care of him, but I thought about it because I really like this dog. And I said, there's only one condition. If I take him, I have to change his name. They're like, to what? And I'm like, well, to Trip, but I'm going to add another P to it. And his legal middle name is going to be Tracy. And then I'm going to get another dog. I'm going to name him John. Because if I didn't do that, would I really be a Hurricanes fan? But I didn't, me being by myself and being in the military and everything, I didn't really have the circumstances to take care of the dog. And they didn't really know anything about hockey. Like I said, they were from Mississippi. They lived, they were all about Ole Miss and SEC football and all that type of stuff. So they didn't understand my fascination with hockey being from the South. And, this is 2013, 2014 timeframe that all that went down. But I'm like, yeah, if I get this beagle named Trip, I'm getting another dog. I'm going to name him John, or I'll get a hamster and name it John. I don't know. But either way, like, I wasn't going to have one and not have the other. All right. Nikishin stepped up there, forced that dump in. Facilitated that exit there. That was good. Nikishin is such a presence out there, man. He just towers over everybody, it seems like. There you go. Good little physicality there, finishing that hit. Nikishin's skating looks like it's a little bit better than it was. So I'm wondering if that's something he worked out on over the summer. All righty, power play. I'm looking forward to seeing this. Caver says Stankoven has been good so far. He's looked a little lost a couple of times to me, but I expected that. This is going to be a bigger adjustment for him than people realize. So it's not that I don't have the confidence in him being able to do it, because he's a good enough player and he's got the right skill set to play center, especially the way that Rod wants center to be played. It's going to be an adjustment period. It's not going to be an overnight process. It wasn't with Aho. It won't be with Stankoven. Jake Fro 91, welcome to the show. On the Hurricanes website, if you go to the front page, the link should be the first thing that's like displayed there. That's where I found it. That was a good job by Stankoven and Blake playing catch there until they were able to get that pass to the slot. Jake, no problem, buddy. All right. Don't tell me that you iced it. Ah. That First Citizens Bank decal is hideous. That is so hideous. I don't like it. But the sweater already sucks. I mean, I know that the First Citizens Bank thing is on all the helmets, but still, it's just ugly. That entry was awful. We're in mid-season form already. There you go. Bullying works. Oh! Nikishin was stepping into that one and his stick broke. Damn. I got so excited there when he wound up and stepped into that shot because that's what he loves to do with his one-timers. He doesn't like him stationary. He doesn't like him coast to coast. He likes to get him north-south and step into him. That's where he's most effective with that. Finsori's skating is just amazing. I know I've said that like a million times, but that power play was mediocre at best, but I'm more inclined to say that it sucked. Good job by Gio working in there. One of the funny things I've noticed about Josiah, he's a little scrappier than his brother. Slavin's a very finesse player. He's got the physicality when he needs it. Josiah's a little bit of a wrecking ball sometimes. He doesn't play a lot like his brother. He'll get in the corners and irritate people with the way that he plays. All right, get some more comments here in the break. Smokey, what's up, buddy? Terrible ad. I agree. That ad it's hideous. I'm not in a hurry to get any of these sweaters. I'm really not. Like the new one, I'm just not digging it at all. I may never get one, honestly. I'm thinking about selling a few of mine just because I've got so many of them and I don't wear them all. And I only come to a few games a year since I don't live there anyway. That being said, I applied for another job today because I haven't found a full-time one that I want. I've just been going to school full-time and working part-time. And if I get this one I applied for today, you guys will see me a few more times. But I also got to hit my weight loss goal first. But I'm getting there. So I put a little bit of muscle back on too. So I'm going to take that in consideration. So, but I'll be at a couple of games this year, just maybe not many. It just all kind of depends on what's going on in life. But not giving up my 225th. Not giving up my 225th anniversary ones. I'm definitely not giving up my Aho Made in Canada one. I'm not giving up my D'Angelo one. Some of the other ones I'd be willing to part with. I haven't decided which ones yet, but I just got too many. Dogebolt says the green whale is goated. Yeah, I like the white whaler one the best out of all the whaler ones. I've never bought a whalers one. I did buy one for my dad though. I got him a Svechnikov white whalers one last year or year before last. Or yeah, it was last year I got him that one. No, it was year before last, the first year they wore it. I got him that one. I considered getting one. I just couldn't decide whose name I wanted on it. I'm going to get a Nikishin of the previous white one because he played his first game in that one. And the only other white one I have is my Made in Canada Aho one, and that's not leaving my closet. The only time that one will leave my closet is when I go to get it signed. And then after that, it's going in a frame, and that's going to be that. All right, we're back at it. See, that's what I'm saying. See what Josiah just did there? Where he just bowls his way to where he wants to go. That's, yeah, he plays very differently than his brother. I know that they play different positions anyway, but still. Good pinch. Denied a clean exit there. There you go. Nikishin threw a hit there. Not a big one yet, but we'll see big hits out of him. He's just got to adjust to the game first. Smokey says they look like practice jerseys in reference to the Canes. I don't know, man. I've seen some sexy looking practice jerseys in my life. These ain't it. The old Reebok practice jerseys were my favorite one. I still have one. I had to get the logo, the Hurricanes logo, sewed back onto it, and I gave it to my girlfriend, and it's in our closet. And I wore it one more time at Chilled Ponds where it saw most of its use, and then I got some of the Adidas ones. I got a white one, a black one, and a red one, so I retired that one. I'm saving that one for one day, hopefully 30, 40 years from now when I know that my last game is coming. That's going to be the last one I wear on the ice. That one and my Fire Ants Market House one. Oh, Blaker, you got to get to that one, buddy. There you go. All right. Stankoven had a good transition there after the entry. He just he tried to put a move on him and lost it, but attempted a skilled play either way. Dogebolt also says, I have a White Whalers from Beer League with my name on it. Oh, that's cool. Jake Fro also says Hartford Whalers, why I'm a Canes fan. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad that you could embrace the team after they left and everything, because when it looked like that there was a distinct possibility the Hurricanes were going to move to another city, my dad and I actually talked about hey, what do we do? Do we pick a new team or do we follow them? And we basically agreed that we would follow them. So had the team went to Houston or went back to Hartford, we probably would have just stayed fans of the team as it was. So, but yeah, I know I joke about a lot of stuff, but I do feel bad for people in Hartford that were genuinely fans and loved that team so much and, didn't get to keep it and everything. Because my first favorite team was the Fayetteville Force in the Central Hockey League, and they went defunct. And that whole league went defunct a few years after that. But it's I'm. And this is with all respect to Mr. Norris. And yes, the guy who owns the Fayetteville Marksman, his legal name, as I live and breathe, his legal name is Chuck Norris. And he's a great dude. I've met him on multiple occasions. My dad knows him real well. I just never liked the name change, but he does occasionally honor the heritage of the Force and the Fire Ants with special sweaters and everything like that. But I was really partial to the Fire Ants in particular because that's just what I grew up with. If the NHL disappeared, I'd be fine because I'd still have the SPHL. So that was a sick play. I think that beat the clock. Let's see. That was an elite play by Connor Geekie there. That edge work and that puck protection and then that centering pass. I don't think he even looked when he made that pass. Eight-tenths of a second were left on the clock. I knew that beat it. Alrighty. Okay, not a terrible first period, but they got some stuff they really got to clean up there. Stankoven, little bit lost. He looked better as the period went along, but like I said, I expected this with Stankoven to where he was going to have some adjustments to it and everything like that. So there's that to be expected. Nikishin looked pretty good for the most part. I'm going to go back and I want to look at that goal one more time with where he was at when Geekie made that play, because that was insanely good puck protection by him. All right, so I'm going to pause it here for a second. I know you guys can't see it, but I want to pull it up on the screen, but I'm afraid to because I don't want the stream to get taken down, because if they think that I'm doing simultaneous streams, even of something like this, because this is still the NHL's footage, I'd be in deep, my channel's growing. I don't want it to just up and get popped out of nowhere. All right, so Nikishin's to the left of Primo there. He goes to step up, stick to the middle. Yeah, Nikishin just straight up got beat there. I think he wanted to go and try and, put some body contact on him and force him wide. But Connor Geekie's got a lot more NHL time under his belt than Nikishin. And the way that he used his edges there, the way that he pivots his inside foot or his outside foot in particular, and then shifts his arms this way because he's a left-handed shot, pulls the puck this way. That gives him a little bit of extra space and everything like that. And he's already got a step on Nikishin. And then Connor Geekie, he just as soon as he knows that he's gotten around Nikishin and he's got a little bit of space, he takes that quick look over his shoulder. He probably saw out of the very corner of his eye the extent of his peripheral vision at that particular moment. He saw that he had two potential options. Whoever that was collapsing into the slot, and then Liljegren's drifting in from the point. And what Liljegren here is doing here, drifting in like this, is really, really smart. Because at the point where Connor Geekie makes this pass, there's only 2.6 seconds left on the clock. It is absolutely zero risk for Liljegren to collapse right here and come into the top of the circle and make himself a passing option. So all the credit to him as well. Connor Geekie was the big play driver there. But yeah, Nikishin just straight up got beat there. That's all it is. And I expect that with him a little bit, but like that, he's got to clean that up. Let me see what else here. Yeah, Shillington went for that poke check there, and it just... Yeah, when Shillington went for that poke check, that just... The damage was already done at that point, so... Lilleberg, I don't know why I said Liljegren, I'm sorry. Like I said, my brain's fried from school. Reese Bailey says all the Hurricanes that aren't used to RBA's defensive system look lost at that end. You can tell across prospect games and the preseason. Yeah, the prospect games in particular, everyone was getting in behind the defense really, really easy, especially in game one and especially in the latter part of game three, because that was a total and complete blowout. And that's just something they got to adjust to. And like I said, Nikishin needs a safety valve. That's why, like, I really, really do not want to see him paired with Ghost. It was shaky enough in the playoffs. I mean, they were good enough to get the job done. Luckily, there was that one overturned goal. But, like, Nikishin needs a safety valve for the way that he plays, not only on the offensive side of things, and I've talked about this before, not only on the offensive side of things, but he loves to step up aggressively in the neutral zone and lay hits on people. And then there was a situation right there in the defensive zone that ultimately led to that goal where he loves to try and aggressively step up on people. And, that's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's going to work out really well, and you're going to eliminate a chance, and you're going to, lay the body on somebody in the process and everything like that. But then there's also times where when that play doesn't work, then you end up in a situation right there where Connor Geekie, was able to use his edges and protect the puck. And he only had to buy himself a split second. We're talking just a couple of 0.2 of a second there he bought for himself. And two scoring options got changed, or two scoring options got created there. And then Lilleberg was the one who happened to bury the puck, and he was smart to collapse in like that, especially knowing that the clock was about to run out. And even if he just totally fanned on it and it came out of the zone, Carolina didn't have time to do anything with it. So, but yeah, that's something Nikishin's got to clean up. And, these guys, they're not used to playing with each other. And for the most part, by the time they get used to each other, some of them are going to be here, some of them are going to be loaned back to, wherever they're at in Europe. And I'm talking about the preseason as a whole. Some of them are going to be loaned back to wherever they're supposed to go, and some of them are going to be with the Canes. So, preseason's not indicative of a whole lot of stuff. That's part of the reason why I'm glad it's shorter. And that's one of the things Rod always said was, he said as a player and a coach, he hated preseason. And I don't blame him, because to me, it's like, me looking at it from a analytical standpoint, it's okay to watch. But as a fan, I just don't particularly enjoy it. It's a necessity. It's a necessary evil. I just personally just don't find a whole lot of interest in it. Like, I couldn't be any more disengaged when I watch preseason games. Like, I had St. Louis and Dallas on in here when I was doing schoolwork the other night. It was just background noise. I after the Panthers game was over, I went and watched the last little bit of the race, and I had that on. And no, actually, that was the night before. That's how busy I've been. I'm just totally yeah. But that's why I haven't done the defensive pairing streams. Like, for the most part, the slides are done. I want to put a couple of finishing touches on them and everything. And I'm glad that I waited to watch this preseason game first. So I'm going to try and do the defensive pairings tomorrow night. Nikishin needs to have a safety valve for the way that he plays, and it's not just for the offense, because you saw right there he made a mistake. He'll learn. He'll figure it out. That's not going to be a problem. But he definitely needs to clean stuff like that up there. That was one of those times where discretion was the better part of valor, and he didn't need to try and step up and make contact. He just kind of needed to box Geeky out, maybe get a stick in there, because I understand he was putting the stick to the middle of the ice to try and prevent the initial centering pass, but then Geeky bought himself some time with that move that he made, and then 0.2 of a second is more than enough time for someone like Connor Geeky to, or almost any player, if they have good enough vision, to be able to do what he did there and create that opportunity for his teammates. So, all right, guys, I'm going to take a break. I will be back when the second period starts. Alrighty. Got that post in there on X and everything like that. We got another comment from the great Dylan Bollinger. IDK, who is paired with Nikki, but he's been bad. It's been mostly Shillington out there with him. And keep in mind, Shillington's been playing, and he's played for a while. I don't remember exactly how many games he has under his belt, but like, I think he's got like 220. Yeah, and when two guys have never played together before, especially when Nikishman's been playing in the KHL the last 3 seasons, and Shillington's been in the NHL and the AHL for most of his time, most of his playing career and everything. Defensive partners, it's like you can develop chemistry, but a lot of times the catalyst of it has to be natural chemistry. That's like, for example, Pesci and Shea. You saw chemistry with them like nearly off the hop. And they got better as time went along, but Pesci and Shea just kind of clicked from the get-go. Slavin, someone like him, he makes whoever is to his right a better player just because of how elite he is in the shutdown game and everything like that. Walker and Gostisbehere clicked like immediately. You can put just about anybody to the right of someone like Slavin and they'll be better though. But a lot of times it's like you have to establish whether those two players have chemistry or not and then build on that. If they don't have it, there's a lot of cases with defensive pairings. You can't really force it. Same thing goes for the forwards. I just think that philosophy, at least for me, it applies more with the defensive pairings. That's just my personal take on that matter. I could be totally wrong about that. But yeah, I posted these notes over on X, and the 3 things I said. First thing is, I said Finsori. I know I've said this a million times. He's got some of the best skating I've ever seen. He's like, his edge work is remarkably good. Be patient with Stankoven. He did look lost at times, but I expected this. Like, this was something that I would have been more concerned if he was overperforming right now, dead serious. Because if he was overperforming right now and not making mistakes and not figuring out things that he needs to adjust now, he would have found them out later when points were on the line in the regular season. So I'd be more concerned if he was overperforming now in a lot of ways. And then again, I elaborated on the whole thing with the mistake that Nikishin made with the coverage on Morgan Geekie there, especially when you're that close to your own net, that deep in your own zone. That's something where, he's got a big frame. Maybe that's a situation where he goes to like kind of box him out a little bit, but doesn't get that close and maybe doesn't really concern himself so much with making contact, but just, using his frame, getting in the way. And, it's like I was saying to some of these people that were defending Scott Morrow from here until the end of the earth. I was just kind of like, hey, one of the first obstacles or one of the first things that you need to do as a defenseman is at least make yourself into an obstacle. For all the heat Tony DeAngelo got, he at least made you beat him. He didn't just let you go by. So that's the first thing. I'm watching this replay here. Another thing I like about Legault is like he doesn't take anything off of anybody in front of the net. All righty. We are going in the second period, ladies and gentlemen. See, and Nadeau's getting muscled off way too easy there, man. Bruh. Dude. Throws a big hit and draws a penalty. I want to see this hit again. That's what I want to see out of Nikishin. You don't have to defend in your end if you can do stuff like that in there. Did he? Please tell me he didn't leave his feet. Let me take another look at that. Lilleberg doesn't want any of that, dude. Dude, you don't want that. You do not want that, buddy. Nikishin's like, that's cute. Go away now. Bro, like, okay. That's what you need out of him. That type of play. You don't have to worry about it in your end if you make plays like that in their end. Good entry by Stankoven. He wasn't able to hold on to it, but he made the most of what space he did have there. Good job walking the goal line there by Stankoven. Good cycle, boys. There you go. Good cycle. Be smart with it. There you go. Use your frame. There you go. Nikishin's trying to get set up for the one-timer. Good power move. Tried to go to stuff it in there by Blake. This power play looks a million times better than their first one. All right, guys. The passing is great. Let's get a shot on. Good keep. That was a good setup. There you go, Caden. Attaboy. Step up on him, Sasha. Much better. Much better defense by there by Nikishin. He did a pretty good job absorbing that contact there, Nadeau did, but he's just getting muscled a little bit too easy. That reminds me, I still can't believe somebody hasn't signed Rosovic yet. Good pass. Skylar Brennamore got a shot. All right, they look better this period so far. I think Sasha laying that big hit kind of got them pumped up a little bit, and that was a catalyst. They're playing better now. So there you go, Fuss. Felix Unger-Storm's edge work looks even better than what it was before, and it was already good when he was drafted. Yeah, you got to call that. That's a penalty. 10 times out of 10, that's a penalty. I ain't going to argue with that one. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Sean Walker's number one hater, our friend Chance. Trade Sean Walker and 3 first-rounders for Kaprizov. If they would take that deal, I'd heavily consider that, even if I had to get Legault, and if you had to just bring Legault into the lineup. But a little bit short on right-handed defenseman right now. It's one reason I'd be reluctant, but that would be a hard thing to say no. I would definitely do that to get Faber, though. I'd do that in 5 seconds to have Brock Faber, but that wouldn't be enough. There you go. Stick with him. All right, that was better. Primo did a good job getting across there. That's what I'm talking about. Nikishin did the right thing there. He didn't manage to get the puck out, but he wasn't overzealous with his pursuit of who had the puck. That's much better. There you go. Force him wide. Just I was saying he was doing better. He screened Primo on that shot on the way through. Eh. Damn. Good job by Stankoven there. See, that low center of gravity that he used to protect the puck there, I know he didn't hold on to it, but that's good. What you guys posting the thank you Caniacs meme in the chat? Oof. And some extracurriculars. Legault's not afraid to mix it up, man. That's something that this team needs. Let him go. Let him go. Perfectly fine body contact, if you ask me. Like, matching minors for roughing. What? All right, let's have a good kill here. This is the situation where Skylar Brindamore really shines, as penalty killing of everything I saw of him with the Wolves and everything like that. If they score a shorthanded goal here, that's going to be the most Carolina Hurricanes thing ever. Good job by Josiah there to slow that rush down. Close your gap. Good block. Good clear. Good block by Nikishin. That's what I'm talking about. He didn't step up too early. He had that patience. He didn't have that on Connor Geeky on the first goal. That time he did it right. Good stick. There you go. That's what we're looking for. Much better. I don't know about that one, but okay. There you go. The last couple of shifts, Nikishin's been a lot better in the ways that I was hoping for. You got to be kind of patient with your gap control. You can't just up and step up on somebody because that gives them, time. You can't just always step up on somebody aggressively because then you take one step one way, they take one step the opposite way, and they've made some space. That's what I love about Slavin's gap control. It's very technical. If Nikishin learns to make his a little bit more technical and not so aggressive, he'll be good to go there. Happy Canes fan, what's up, buddy? I can't watch the game. How are they playing? They could be better. Last penalty kill was kind of trash. The transition game's a little bit off. They're not really entering the zone with numbers very well. Not even like guys like Ungersorm. Stankoven looks a little bit lost, but I expected that. Nikishin has been hot and cold. He's had some really good shifts. He had one really big hit, but then there's been a couple of times where he's just made some pretty bad defensive errors. So it's like you got there's nothing really in between with him of what I've seen with his game. It's like he's either doing stuff really, really well or he's making pretty bad mistakes. Let's see how this power play goes. Good job by Skylar Brandon to dig that puck out. Fuss coughed it. That was a good individual effort play there by Bradley Nadeau. He's got to make more plays like that because he's been a little bit invisible this game. What a shot. That kid's got some stuff he has to refine in his game, but his shot is well above average for the NHL level. If nothing else, he has that asset working for him. All right, switching it up here. PP1's coming out. Damn. Denied the entry there. I thought they were changing. And another entry that didn't work out. See, Nikishin's not got the edge work, but he's just so damn big that, you know, when he takes a step, like I said, he gallops like a horse. Stankoven just got laid out. And they're going to get another power play. No, but he'll be safe from Nikishin in the... Yeah, the puck was nowhere near him, I don't think. See, I like that. Just making a play off the face-off like that. Not hesitating. Good entry by Stankoven. Good keep. Got a broken... one of the Tampa players has a broken stick. Take your time. Take your time. Damn it. Blake was right on the doorstep and couldn't bury it. That was a good play otherwise, though. Good little bait and switch there by Stankoven. Ooh. Johansson just made a really good save there, man. He did a really good job tracking that puck. I can't even be mad at that. That was just a damn good save. Very underrated save. That was a pretty play. Like, everything about that play was good. Where Blake was on the doorstep there. I got zero complaints about how they set that up. That was... A lot of times that gets you a puck in the net. That was very well executed, honestly. Matthew says Johansson is annoyingly good tonight. Well, yeah, he's a goalie playing against the Hurricanes, so they always decide to have, you know, legacy games when they play the Hurricanes. Do you remember what Thomas Greiss used to do to the Canes? Like, he just absolutely had Carolina's number every time they played for years. That's why, like, when Carolina was up in, I think it was Game 3 in 2019 against the Islanders, or it was either Game 3 or Game 4. It was one of the ones at home. And even though Carolina was up, I think, like 4-1 at that point or whatever it was, when Thomas Greiss went in, I got nervous because I'm like, they might build a comeback because this guy just totally has Carolina's number. But yeah, Carolina's turned Kirill Vejmelka into Patrick Waugh at times. So... All right, I'm going to grab me a water real quick. You doing good over there, pal? Oh, here we go. Whip his ass, Gio. Oh, come on, man. That was lame. That fight was boring. I love this game. I mean, good on Gio for taking Connor Geeky on. He's a big, tough kid. All right, now we get to watch Kane's penalty kill again here, which I'm actually excited to see it again. Reese says Geeky could have at least thrown a punch there. Yeah, with those two. I was expecting a pretty good. I was expecting a pretty good fight. I was kind of disappointed it ended so quick. I was expecting a good fight there, and it ended up being kind of mediocre. It was a little bit of a letdown. All right, this is going to be interesting to see. I do want to see how Jackson Blake does on the kill. Oh, Mike Maniscalco referencing the Killers. That's the band. That's pretty cool. Good clear. Good clear again. Everybody held their ground there in the defensive zone, and it paid off. That was a good move. Way he baited LeBanc there. There you go. Way to get on that loose puck. I don't know why I said Blake on the kill there. He was serving the penalty. I misheard what Mike said. Okay. Because since there was less than 5 minutes left when that fight occurred, so I guess that they just sent Giovanni Smith and Connor Geeky to the room. Good forecheck by Stankoven there and finishing that hit. Oh, okay. Bayreuther lost it on entry. Or when he entered the zone, it was already in the zone. I'll never be a play-by-play guy, I can promise you that. Good job disrupting that entry by Legault. He's going to make the NHL. Like, I don't think it's going to be this season, but he's getting there. Taking a hit to make a play there to get that puck out, so that's good. Stormy can't even make that ugly sweater look good. You know, I think I will buy one before Christmas, so when there's an ugly sweater party, I can wear it and fit in. Because I'm sorry, I'm just not impressed with them. Ice might be a little bit bad tonight, too, as much as the puck is bouncing and fumbling up and everything like that. And that is the second period. All right, guys, I'm going to take another break. I will be back here in a few minutes. Alrighty. I went down to my truck because I thought I had another can of this in there, and I don't. So I might be a little irritable for the rest of this particular stream, especially if the canes suck in the third. But, yep. Fresh out. I could have swore I had another can of it in there still. I'm going to have to go get some as soon as this is over. All right, we'll be back going here in a little bit. All righty. Should be going back here in a little bit. Okay, so we got 5 minutes until the third starts. All right, I'm going to go ahead and step back out here for a second. I'll be back when the period starts. All right, I'm back because we got a minute 33 to go here and everything like that. Again, thank you for joining tonight. I know I haven't been saying a whole lot. I'm still a little bit stuffy, but we'll see what happens here in the third period. Johansson's played really well. Carolina's generated some good chances here and there. I'm still not entirely impressed with their game, but again, it's a preseason game with a few of the guys that will be in the NHL regular lineup come the regular season, and the rest of them are depth pieces. You got a PTO in there as well with Shillington. So there's Smith and Shillington both. So you got a couple of guys that are on PTOs there. I would imagine both of the guys that are signing PTOs are going to sign, or that signed PTOs will probably be signing a two-way deal, and they'll go to the Wolves. Is what I think would probably happen. Nadeau, he's been a little bit off tonight. He looked pretty good there on that power play where he got that shot off and everything. That is his biggest asset as a player, is that cannon of a shot that he has. But he also made a really good individual effort play to, move the puck closer to the net from the blue line and everything during that power play. So there's that as well. There's more good to his game than bad. It's just I don't think Nadeau has been that great tonight. But he's going to be someone who I think is going to see an extended amount of reps during the preseason, because they've got to decide if he's big club material now or if he needs to cook a little bit more in the minors. All right, let's get it going here. Yeah, Stankoven won that initial face-off there, but Tampa's the wingers came in there and helped him out. So, all right, let's watch how he does on this breakout here. Solid job by Blake there using the body. Finn Sori tried to walk that through there by himself. I think that was him anyway. I just clicked off the screen for a second and looked back. Good job by Skylar Brendamore back there. See, that's one of the things I was talking about with Nadeau. He was a little bit late getting to that puck there, and he didn't have that problem in the Prospects tournament. Now, granted, this is significantly harder than the Prospects tournament, the games that they're playing in the preseason. I won't say significantly harder, but they're at least a little bit harder. A lot of the loose pucks and stuff he was getting to in the Prospects game, he's not really doing that here as much. Good effort by Unger Sorm there. He just couldn't hold on to it, and they couldn't stay in the zone. Good positioning by Nikishin there. Kirby, if you go to the Hurricanes website, the link will be on the front page. And I've also got it in the description on the YouTube side, and the first comment under the link to the video has it on X. Way to start that breakout there by Fensori. And then LeBanc tries to go 4-on-1 like he's Martin Necas. Oh, LeBanc's on a PTO as well. That's right. Stankoven's really quick on like trying to generate those breakouts. So that's a good thing. His speed is definitely an asset for him. I mean, his skating as a whole, but he's quick regardless of what direction he's going. Legault laid somebody out. Wow. That was a great save there by Caden Primo. Yeah, you got to call that. If it were the other way around, I'd want it called. So I'm not trying to sound like Dave Jackson. I think it's the right call because he says that about nearly everything. Great effort by Robidaw there. Oh man, he just about made something happen there. All right, that one's out. All right, that was pretty solid by Nikishin there. LeBanc couldn't settle it down. Another good save there by Primo. All right, there you go. Keep them on the perimeter. All right, they're getting him and the Canes in here. Spending way too much time in this defensive zone here, guys. Let's get a saver. Let's get an exit and dump it in at the other end without icing and get the lines changed. Oh. Bree says, the way the Hurricanes always manage to squander prime opportunities never ceases to amaze me. LOL. Yeah, I agree. I've seen multiple odd man rushes on this PK, and they've somehow not even got a shot off. Yeah, that's it's funny just how this team produces, and I'm even talking about the regulars, how they produce so many high danger chances shorthanded, but then there's times where on the power play they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. It's just it's funny to me. It really is. Let me look something up real quick. Even when they get in the zone, they're not staying there very long. Here we go. Nasty move. Nasty move. I'm really glad LeBanc just didn't up and shoot that puck. He waited him out. Hell. Tampa's challenging for offside. Sorry about that. I forgot I had the microphone off because when I get stuffed up, I don't. Yeah, that's out. Yeah, that's out. That's all the way out. But basically, I think that the reason why that they have it in preseason is, the players are getting warmed up for the season, the coaching staff, the officials, everybody else is. So I guess that the war room and all the other event related personnel for the NHL and for the league and everything like that, and they're probably, getting spun up too. It's like the Fayetteville Marksmen, and I might play in it this year. The Fayetteville Marksmen have a game where a bunch of the guys who play on Fort Bragg play, and it's just so that the staff can go through the motion. So like the announcers, the off ice officials, and all that type of stuff. So I guess that's what they're doing. And you know what? Toronto needs all the practice it can get. And I'm not just talking about the Maple Leafs. So maybe that's the rationale behind it. Yeah, I forgot to turn the mic off because when I get all stuffy and stuff, I turn it off for a little bit because I don't want y'all to hear like the nasty. Oh boy. Here we go. Another short fight. Yeah, this doesn't feel like a run of the mill preseason game. Kirby says another fight. Yeah. All right. Let's see if they can make something happen on this power play here. Fensori just about picked that corner there. Or I'm sorry, Felix Hungersorm, I should say. I only have one monitor and I've got half of it on StreamYard and half of it on the game, so I can't go full screen. So I'm like kind of having a hard time telling who's who. Good entry by Hungersorm. Let's see what Nadeau can do with it. Way to get that puck there by Skylar Brindamore. Yeah. Brindamore wasn't ready for that pass from Justin Robidoux there. Oh, here we go. Shoot that. That was a great pass, though, in the slot. Good entry. Stankoven sent that one high, too. And some more extracurriculars. Poor Jackson Blake getting piled on by a bunch of dudes bigger than him. Well, not all of them, but yeah, that's the end of the power play. Stankoven's got such a crazy good release, man, especially when he's got time to think about where he wants to put the puck. It didn't go where he wanted it to go that time, but like just his shot is not Nadeau good, but it is close. All right, 4-on-4. That was a great play there by Stankoven. Now Blake's in with speed because of it. Oh, good follow-up play there by Stankoven, though. Stankoven couldn't elevate it enough. That hat is uglier than hell. Reese says Brendan Moore with a very low IQ play. Not sure why he left the point when Robidoux was clearly driving to pass it back. Yeah, I don't understand that one either. And, those guys have played together in Chicago, so I don't understand what he did there. Maybe they just had a miscommunication or something, but I didn't understand that particular sequence. Are you freaking kidding me, Johansson? Yeah, no, the Canes are in midseason form because generated a bunch of chances, didn't score on any of them, have generated some stuff shorthanded, had a goal challenged and waved off, turning a relatively middle-of-the-road goalie into Marty Turco. Yeah, that's Canes hockey. That's normal. I suppose it's better this happens in the preseason, but this is absurd. No, they're conditioning us for the experience, the normal experience. You're telling me getting goalied in a disallowed goal. Yeah, they're in midseason form. The whole damn dynamic here is midseason form. Good entry denial there. Good back check and good stick there by Robidoux right at the blue line. Break up that play for a sec. Good clear. Yeah, Matthew, Blake and Stankoven have definitely looked like they have some chemistry together. And if they play with like Svechnikov so that they at least have some size on that line, that'll be fine. All right, I won't say it'll be fine. I think it can work. Ugh. Stick with it, Caden. I liked how Nikishin drove the net there to try and get that rebound. Dogebolt says, don't feel too bad. The guys that scored are regulars in the NHL and one was on the PP. Yeah, no, I don't really feel bad about it. Just out of the simple fact that, like, one, it's a preseason game, and then we just have, like, our running jokes as Canes fans is that we, get goalied all the time. It's like, the Canes have turned Thomas Greiss into a demigod for 4 games 1 year, and then Kirill Vejmelka absolutely destroyed the Canes, one time last season, and probably another one that I'm forgetting. It's just like goalies that typically aren't one of the top 32 best ones in the league tend to make mincemeat out of Carolina. There was one game a few seasons ago when the Coyotes were still in Arizona. I think Carolina had 28 more shots than them and lost 1-0. And I think it was something like that. It was something crazy, but we just have games that reoccur like that with the Canes. So we just make jokes about it. And then there was also a time where Carolina was on the wrong end of a challenge, 15 times in a row or something like that. So it's just stuff we laugh about. And trust me, after some of the stuff that's went on in the last 2 weeks, I love sports. I love hockey. I love baseball. But at the end of the day, there's only so many things that there's a lot more important things in life. So don't get me wrong. I get pissed off if they lose. I'm happy when they win. There's times where they win and I'm pissed off at them. And I'm like, yeah, they won, but they didn't deserve to. It's just, there's a lot more important things in life. So Matthew says Primo's been good. I think so. Yes. I think Primo's been Primo. I really do. Yep. Outshot Arizona 14-1 in that first period, trailing 1-0. That game, that's the one I'm thinking of. And I think Carolina lost that game 1-0, and the shots were like 30 or 46-10 or something like that. And I'm like, I can't believe this. I think that was Kirill Vejmelka playing that night. It was him or Connor Ingram, I think. I can't remember exactly, but I just remember being in awe of how bad it was. If Sergei Bobrovsky does that to the Canes, I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's Sergei Bobrovsky. He's capable of doing that. When Kirill Vejmelka does it to you or Thomas Greiss does it to you, you're kind of like, eh. Yeah, it's preseason, but still, yeah. Reese Bailey says, I will say the Chicago Wolves are probably going to be really good this year, actually, goalie depth and other additions as well. And their fans will still bitch about how all their problems are because of the Carolina Hurricanes organization. I'm so ready to be done with the Wolves. It was 4-0, and yes, we outshot them 28-12. That's right. Okay. There was one game they lost 1-0, and I'm not talking about the game 3 in the playoffs against the Panthers in 23, but there was another one where it was like 36-11 on shots and they lost 1-0. I can't remember which one. Oh God, that's the second time I've done that tonight. No, I remember that game now. I remember there was one game where it was against the Flyers. Svechnikov scored a power play goal. And the Canes beat the Flyers 1-0 that night. And then I think that they went like 160 or 180 minutes or something like that without a goal. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like 2.5 games that Carolina didn't score a goal. Yeah, no, Kirby, it was me because like when my nose gets all stuffed up and stuff, I don't want to be snorting on the mic, so I've been cutting it off more than I normally do, and I forget to turn it back on because I never have to really cut it off this much. Bradley Nadeau hammered that shot, but nothing. Matthew P says, yeah, that was Fetch's last game before his injury. I don't think it was the very last game before his injury, but it was close to that, I think. I remember I can actually look up what dates it occurred because I remember I got a very specific text from my dad around that time frame. I remember it clear as day because I thought exactly what he said at the same time. He wrote, okay, ... This is getting fucking ridiculous. And that was exactly my thought at the exact moment I got that text. Next game was the shutout by Vegas where Svech got hurt. Yeah, and I was at that game. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think you're right. And I was at that game. That's the only time I've ever worn my Derek Stepan sweater. I never wore it again after that. Of course, Johansson got a piece on it. He's playing against the Hurricanes. Stankoven trying to walk it into the middle there. Good job there by Nikishin. There we go. Good job, boys. Stankoven tipped that one in, I think. Good job, boys. That guy's going to make up like 10, at least 15, no, more like 20% of the jerseys in the stands on any given night in the future, man. He's so good. Good net front presence. See, you don't always have to be tall to have a good net front presence. It's a skill set as much as it is a willingness, if not more. So that's good. I hate allergy season. It ain't nearly as bad here as it was in Virginia, though. So I'm not too terribly upset because I felt like my allergies are so bad in Virginia. I felt like I had the flu. Good stick, good defensive play. Yeah, and that's one thing I noticed a little bit when they were playing together in the playoffs. Stankoven and Nikishin, they seem to have a little bit of chemistry as well, which is a good thing because they're both going to be with the Hurricanes for the next 8 seasons. So, or no, it would be 9, I would guess, for Stankoven because he's His extension doesn't kick in until next year. Actually, I'll tell you real quick. My brain is just totally fried today. A bunch of stuff I'm normally good at keeping up with, I can't. Yep. Okay, yeah, his extension doesn't kick in until next year. That's right. That was offside. Damn. That was a close one. He might have been, he might not have been. I don't envy a linesman in that position because that's a difficult call to make if you ask me. That's a split second judgment you got to make with, one stationary factor in the blue line and two moving factors, the player and the puck, and that's a very, very difficult decision to make in that split second. Come on, boys. Let's get a good rush here. Holy shit, Stankoven went in there with some heat into below the goal line there. Wow, that was good little one-touch pass there on that entry. All right, guys, let's just get in here, get a shot on net, get a face-off down there. And Tripp just basically said what I just said, get a whistle. Get a whistle in the offensive zone and then go from there. You got time. All right, that's icing. That'll work. See what Rod does here. Ah, Sasha, come on, bro. At least they iced it. Get a shot. Yeah, and Tampa's just going to salt the clock away here. Yeah. At least it's just preseason. All right, everybody. I am going to take the trash out. I'm going to walk my dog. And I'm going to call it a night. I will hopefully stream tomorrow night around 6, 7. So I'll post and let you guys know if I'm going to be able to do that and everything. I wish you guys a very wonderful evening, and I will see you soon.